So, hi, I'm Bob. Today we're going to be making eggplant parmesan with pasta and garlic bread. So today, my first attempt of cooking for an audience, I guess, we will be making eggplant parmesan with spaghetti. These are all the ingredients we'll be using. There's a couple extra things like eggs and flour, which we'll be using in prep, but this is the main part here. This is all the ingredients we'll be using. Not supposed to cut towards yourself, but with this peeler and me being left-handed, it doesn't always work. I should use my paring knife. So, cut off the cap, the green cap. Some people don't peel their eggplant. I am not a big fan of the eggplant skin. I probably wouldn't eat eggplant at all if I had the skin on it. All right, this is our scrap. We're going to cut up the eggplant in slices. You want them to be about a ½ inch thick. For the wider pieces, I tend to make them a little bit thinner, but about a ½ inch thick. Notice I'm left-handed, so I'm going to move the bowl over here. My new knife that I got from my sister-in-law. Typically throw out the end. So there's our eggplant. Our next thing we're going to do, I'm going to set this aside and we're going to make our breadcrumb mixture. So the breadcrumb mixture is the basis of the eggplant parmesan. That's where the parmesan comes in. I mean, you put cheese on it at the end if you want, but the breadcrumbs, the mixture, that's where parmesan is. You can get Italian breadcrumbs. I prefer making my own Italian style breadcrumbs with regular plain old breadcrumbs. I have made my own breadcrumbs. It's just easier to buy the plain stuff. So I'm making enough to coat this many eggplant, one eggplant. So I'm going to use about 2 cups of mixture of breadcrumbs, maybe 1.5 cups. The easiest to put it into a freezer bag, big bag of some kind. That's about right. Now, one of the most important parts, very important, is garlic. I do probably about 2 teaspoons of garlic powder in this. You don't want to use fresh garlic for this because it's a dried ingredient. You're better off using powdered stuff. Dried herbs as well. A ½ tablespoon. I'm going to play it by ear. I'll see what it looks like. There's a half. There's another half. Yeah, I want one more. So I got about a 1.5 tablespoons of garlic powder. Oregano. I love oregano. I cook with oregano a lot. Again, I don't usually measure, I just kind of eyeball what I'm putting in there. This is a half tablespoon, so I'll probably put about 3/4 of a tablespoon in there, I think. And a half tablespoon of basil. Yeah, that's about right. And salt and pepper. And red pepper if you want to. I'm not going to do red pepper today. Crushed red pepper flakes. You can use them as needed for taste. For salt, I'm going to use my good salt. My sea salt. About 2 pinches, which is about a teaspoon, maybe a little bit less. Black pepper. Yeah, getting low. I'm gonna have to sprinkle it. About a half a teaspoon. And then, very important, Parmesan cheese. I'm going to use about a half a cup of Parmesan cheese. Yeah, maybe 3/4 of a cup of Parmesan cheese. Yeah. And then just mix it all up. Give it a smell. Decide if it needs anything else. Yeah, it smells pretty good. So there's our breadcrumb mixture here. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to be we're going to be using flour and an egg and the breadcrumb mixture to bread the eggplants. Before I start up this, we're going to preheat our oven. So here's my lovely new oven. Preheat it to 375. And while this is doing its thing, we will be preparing everything else. So we're going to take my egg. Don't want the shell. We are going to mix up 1 egg and about a half a cup of water. This is regular all-purpose AP flour. Put some in there. Now breadcrumb mixture. So we are going to dip the eggplant into the flour. It's not a real wet thing like chicken or something, so it won't pull up a lot of the flour, but it'll get some. It'll press it down. It'll pull up some flour. Then we're going to put in our egg wash. Cat wants an eggplant. Now we're gonna put them in the breadcrumbs. Press it down a little bit. My wet hands with my dry hand. can see, I've done most of them here. I'm going to finish them up here. Nice little one. Alright, we've got all of our eggplants breaded. I'm going to clean up here a little bit. Notice I got probably half of breadcrumbs. I probably didn't need to make this much. Good thing is we took it out of here and put it in here. So I'm going to toss this because it had egg in it. This you can keep. Reuse it again. It's got Parmesan cheese in it, so I wouldn't keep it more than a month or two. But you can definitely save it for another time. Okay, we are now at the cooktop. I have my medium saucepan for the sauce. I have my eggplants all ready to go. I have my frying pan that I'm going to cook them in. And I have my pan that's going to receive them. This is going to go in the oven. So this is a 9 by 13, I guess, glass Pyrex pan. If you make more eggplant, you may want to use a bigger pan or layer them more. Even with this, I'm still going to probably have 2 layers in it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put our spaghetti sauce. Any kind of sauce, homemade sauce would be ideal. This is the tomato and basil by Barrio that we really like. I'm going to put that into our pan. I do not have this on yet. I'm going to be heating this after the eggplant is in the oven. Just putting it in here for now because I'm going to be using this in the pan. Just a splash of water. Clean up the pan. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to be putting the eggplant into this after it's cooked. So I want a layer of sauce in the bottom of the pan. It's not going to stick. It's not going to burn. All right. So now we're going to turn our center heat on in the pan. About medium. Had a bit over, you can always adjust it. I haven't cooked fried foods on this cooktop yet, so I may be lowering it depending on how hot it gets. So the eggplant is going to really suck up, really absorb the olive oil. Use olive oil in your pan. I use classic olive oil for sauteing because they're going to pretty much be fried in this. I use EVOO for topping things and for things that don't require high heat, but I'm going to be using quite a bit of this. If you want to use EVOO, you can, but you probably want to add maybe a third or a quarter extra of canola oil, something heavier to keep the flash point down. All right. So we'll give this a minute to heat up. So while we're waiting for this to heat up, we're going to brown them for about 4 or 5 minutes. There's no meat in it, so it's not as important to get your temperature exact cooked through, but they'll cook for a lot further in the oven. You just basically want to get them soft and browned. And as you can see, you probably can see, my oil has mostly disappeared. The eggplant drinks it up, so I'm going to add more oil just along the edges, just a dribble. We don't want to raise the heat too much at a time, or lower the heat rather. Starting to brown nicely. Give it another minute on this side yet. So I'm just a shade over half heat on my oven, or my stove rather. Every stove's different, especially for cooking with gas or electric. I have an induction heat. It's my newest toy. Yeah, that's good. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm starting to pull these off now. Give them a drain. You can transfer them to a sheeted towel if you want to drain them a little bit. I'm just putting them right in my pan. And of course, there's different sizes. You want to play a nice game of Tetris with your pieces. So, nice and browned. I'm putting them into my dish. So I'm going to put some extra oil in here and start cooking the next ones real quick, and then I'm going to put my sauce over this. Oops, sorry. So now I'm going to take my sauce, and you're going to spread it a thin layer over all of them. This sauce is not hot yet. You can heat it a little bit before you start. Keep it hot the whole time if you want. I don't usually. Make sure you get along the edges. All right. I'm just going to let that sit until the other ones are ready. Okay, so these last four are about done. As noticed, they are squishy in the middle, not super squishy, but they're soft in the middle. Browned on both sides. I'm going to layer them into my pan. I'm going to take my sauce again, and I'm going to layer on this. You want them totally covered on the sides as well. I usually buy, in fact I did buy 2 cans of, or 2 jars of sauce. Sometimes I use it. Like I have plenty here for this, but I might open the other jar for serving with the pasta. All right. And the sauce I get, as we mentioned before, is Barilla tomato and basil. No sugar added. This is just fresh stuff. This is probably one of the best of the relatively inexpensive sauces you can get. You obviously can get a lot more expensive ones, but this is one of the best ones we found. So now I'm going to foil this. And I'm going to put it in the oven, 375 preheated. All right. Center rack. And we're going to time it for 20 minutes. It's going to take longer than 20 minutes total, but 20 minutes is when we're going to take the foil off, put the cheese on. So while that's cooking in the oven, I don't have a lot of sauce here, so I'm going to add my half a jar, I think, of my other sauce to this. that. I'm going to put it on low. And it's just going to sit here and simmer, low temperature, covered. So I'm going to start heating up the water for my pasta. Generously salted. They say it's supposed to be the flavor of the saltiness of the sea. Don't know how salty that is, but I do about 2 big pinches. All right. So it's not going to, because this is a very high power stove, it's not going to take 20 minutes to get the temperature. So for now, I'm just going to put a lid on it and I'll wait to start it. So we're going to take about half a stick of butter. I know I'm using my cereal knife for it, but I'm going to just melt this in the microwave. It's the easiest way to do it. You can either, I usually do it at for about a minute, maybe a little bit less at half power, or if you do it at full power, you just watch it. When it starts bubbling, you stop. And we're going to use garlic powder. While that's microwaving, we will cut our hoagie rolls. In this case, you want to separate them. All right. Quick spritz. Break it up, there's a lump, it'll melt. And garlic powder. What this does, this soft, the butter absorbs some of the garlic powder, so it's not as grainy. You get more of the flavor without the granularity of it. Not a huge difference, but it's less powdery when you eat it. Right. Yeah, these are really fresh rolls. Stale bread is definitely best for this. All right. Get your brush. There's a lot of different ways of doing garlic bread. Some people butter the bread like you would regular bread and then put the garlic powder on it. I like doing it this way. It's really, I don't think there's any right or wrong way to do it. Go through, touch up all the spots. Butter everywhere. That is done. If you want, you can sprinkle a little more garlic powder on them. Depending on your preference, you can put cheese on them as well. I like them just plain garlic bread. So these are ready to go in the oven when the eggplant comes out. Alright, so let's see how it looks after 20 minutes. It sounds bubbly, that's good. You want it to be bubbly on the edges and starting to dry. That's pretty good. It could probably go another few more minutes, but I think that's good. Nice, really thickly sliced provolone cheese. We're just going to spread it all around. It's thick slice so it will melt everywhere. Here we go. We're going to put it back in, uncovered now, for about 8 to 10 minutes. You have to watch it. You want your cheese to be bubbly, starting to brown, but not completely brown. We'll check in 8 minutes. All right, let's check our eggplant. Oh, it's bubbling nicely. Cheese is nice and melted, but I'm gonna let it go another 2 or 3 minutes to get the cheese browning a little bit. So I turned the heat up a little bit because I want my garlic bread to be cooked at 425. So while I heat up this, yes, notice that it's starting to dry and bubble and brown a little bit on the cheese. So we're gonna take this out, let it cool for 5 minutes or so. Meanwhile, I'll put our garlic bread in. Okay. It's going to be up to 425 in like 2 or 3 minutes. It's pretty quick. But I'm going to cook it for 5 minutes normal.
Sure.
So I took the garlic bread out about a minute ahead. I didn't put it on broil. It looks beautiful. I'm going to set it over here. Okay, our pasta's ready. It just came out. Get a dribble of olive oil. Toss it around a little bit. I have about a spoonful, maybe a quarter of a cup of pasta water on the bottom. I like to do that with olive oil. I think it finds it. I find it keeps it from sticking so much. All right. So now let's serve our there's the eggplant. Spaghetti. Extra sauce. How the eggplant looks inside. Lots of cheese. Nice and buttery looking. Nice and smooth. As my wife likes to say, like butter. There you go. Thank you.